The demand for an investigation into the Democrats was part of the reason that he ordered to withhold funding to Ukraine.
The look back to what happened in 2016 certainly was part of the thing that he was worried about in corruption with that nation. And that is absolutely appropriate.
The funding.
Yeah.
Remember the day that aired and everyone watching was saying, did he just... Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney did backtrack from that just hours later, essentially saying he did not say what everyone heard him say live and on television using his words. This evening, it was Mulvaney's lawyers who reversed course, pulling a motion to join a lawsuit filed by former Deputy National Security Advisor Charles Kupperman. After Kupperman was subpoenaed in the impeachment inquiry last month, he needed air cover. He asked a court to decide whether he had to testify. Last week, the House withdrew that subpoena, but Mulvaney tried to join Kupperman's lawsuit anyhow. Earlier today, Kupperman's lawyers asked the judge to turn Mulvaney down. As our justice correspondent Pete Williams reports, after saying what he did on live television, quote, Mulvaney might have already waived or given up any claim he has to immunity from the subpoena, Kupperman's lawyers argued. They added that allowing Mulvaney into the case could bog it down in new issues that would drag the case out when it was likely to be dismissed because the House withdrew Kupperman's subpoena. We need a lawyer. Isn't that what you're thinking right about now? I have one for you, Maya Wiley, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, these days with the New School here in New York. Can you please explain what's going on? And more than that, to quote Al Gore, what controlling legal authority is going to tell the White House chief of staff, your appeals are over, they're done, you have to come in and talk to us, this is the United States?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here, as you know, Brian. The first of which is, you know, the expansive nature of this White House suggesting that under no circumstances can Congress get access to
as a blanket rule,
anyone, even Corey Lewandowski, who never even worked for the White House.
Yeah.
That it has taken such an extreme position. The thing that is happening here, though, with Kupperman, who really we should think of as Kupperman and Bolton, right?
Okay.
They have the same attorney, is that they're in a different position than Mick Mulvaney. First of all the witnesses are suggesting that they, at least John Bolton, were raising the red flags that this was inappropriate behavior. Mick Mulvaney, on the other hand,
was further implicated today.
Up to his eyeballs. Yeah. Not only did he implicate himself by virtue of saying nothing wrong here, and yes, absolutely, Donald Trump was going backwards to the origins of what essentially became the Mueller probe, but that he himself has been implicated in both stopping military aid approved by Congress. We've heard evidence now that there were lawyers raising questions about whether the OMB could even do that legally. The position that they're taking is essentially that John Ehrlichman during Watergate could not be subpoenaed by Congress to testify about Watergate. I mean, think about that. That's essentially the argument they're making. So they really are in different positions, but also, as you pointed out, the Democrats had already pulled the subpoena and said, look, forget that. We've got the Don McGahn case going much more quickly. We want this to go fast. We want to get a ruling from a court much more quickly that says this entire line of obstruction of Congress is a problem and witnesses have to start testifying.
As you know, courtroom lawyers and lawmakers at hearings have to engage in a little performance art. Are you convinced this is a story they can tell starting Wednesday morning? They can tell to the American people?
This is absolutely a story they can tell to the American people. And I think what's important is for them to really hone in directly on the personal gain for the president. That's really the central fact here, is that this isn't about national security, because the national security interests of the country were to get that military aid to Ukraine.
That's defend them against Russia.
To defend them against Russia in a hot war that all of the experts across the political spectrum agreed should happen. And that the only reason it wasn't is because Donald Trump, the man, wanted dirt on the Bidens for his own personal gain. Putting his interests ahead of the national security of the country is an abuse of power. And that story is one that I think any American can understand if they just methodically, as I think they can with Bill Taylor's testimony and the testimonies of others, focus directly in on what were the nation's interests and what did Donald Trump direct.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.